fellow babies, welcome back to this week's Pachter Factor. I'm Michael Pachter. I hope you're watching on Patreon. If you are, we very much appreciate the patronage. If you are not a Patreon subscriber, if you can't afford to subscribe to SIFTD.net, you can find this also on YouTube, and we only ask that you follow the instructions right below the description. There's a link to click to re-up your subscription to Twitch Prime. It costs you nothing. Every click is $2.50 that goes right in and out of Shane's pocket, as he has to pay to produce this show. Doesn't pay me, it costs him money to do it. So again, costs you nothing. Please click. We're getting some traction on that, so we very much appreciate it. This week, all of our questions are about Stadia, and I'm going to answer all of them. I don't want to have to stick to topic because the answers to each of them actually overlap with one another. And I'm going to answer like the second question, the fourth question, the third, the first. I'm just going to read them all. I'll come back to the questioners. But our four questions this week from Patreon. We have a question from Dominic Gygax. What kind of audience do you see for Stadia? Do you think PC gamers will use it despite latency and video quality concerns? Do you see console players leaving them behind for streaming? Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. From Patreon also, Eric Schneider. Thank you, Eric. How can Stadia succeed with poor broadband infrastructure in the US and the increasing prevalence of data caps? Is Stadia an idea that's way too early? Will it ever work? Thanks for a great show. Thank you for watching. From SIFTD, we have a question from Skimpy. How do you think Google Stadia and Microsoft xCloud will be priced? Monthly subscriptions with access to lots of games like Game Pass. We purchase the right to play each game. What kind of pricing do you see for each option? Okay, that answer is going to be a long one, and it actually addresses, two of the others. And the final question from YouTube from Gravity Milk. Hey Pac, if cloud gaming does well, do you think in the future we can see a company like Google create bundles for gaming, movies, and music? If they could offer a steep discount, it could be successful because the number of services we're all subscribing to is getting ridiculous. So let me talk to Gravity Milk first, because I think that's really a great question, and it kind of goes to my core, principle of doing this show and doing my work. It's a profit deal. So the question that you asked, can we bundle everything at a steep discount? No. In order for you to pay less for what you're getting, you have to stop paying somebody else for it. So let me use the Netflix example. If you're a cable TV subscriber and you're paying $85 a month, that's the average cable bill. You can start at $30, but you don't get HBO and stuff. If you pay $13 for Netflix, that's, what is that, 1/7 or something of $85. So for every one person who quits cable, if Netflix doesn't pick up 7 subscribers, it doesn't add up to zero for the studios. The guys who sell their content get paid a percentage of what you're paying for those services. So they don't make money. And so a service like Netflix, it gives you a reason to cut the cord and not buy cable. And I know they're different services. Cable is current TV. But if you were to subscribe to all the services out there, it's Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, you probably would pay $40 or $50 or $60, and that's less than $85. So the guys who create the content wouldn't get the same money. Maybe Disney would get more money. Maybe. It depends. But like, if you look at your cable bill, you get the Weather Channel, and you'll say, well, I don't watch it except when there's a hurricane in your backyard. And you also get like Speed Vision, which is racing all the time. And you're like, well, I don't like racing, but your father-in-law does, right? Or you get the Tennis Channel, and you're like, I don't play tennis, but your kids might. Or you get Bravo, which has The Real Housewives, and you don't watch it, but trust me, your wife does. Or you get the Disney Channel, and you're like, I don't watch that, but your kids do. So, that's the point of cable, is there's something for everybody, and you are paying for a lot of stuff you don't use, but you might use it. And it does cost too much, I get it. So when you look at how they're going to price cloud gaming, the idea is if you're the service provider, if you're Google or you're Microsoft, yeah, you want all you can eat for 10 bucks. That's Netflix. They want everybody's content, unlimited access to it, and they want to serve it up to you for not very much money. And the reason that Netflix is hated by the content creators is because the content creators finally figured out that people are cutting the cord on cable. So the good news is that the video game guys, good news for investors who own shares in these companies, not for consumers. The video game guys have figured this out. So I will quote, we had the president, not the CEO, the president of Take-Two on a trip, visiting with investors at the day that Stadia was announced, and he said, we can't make economic sense of selling our content into a service that resells it for 10 bucks. He goes, necessarily we're going to get less than 10 bucks because Google or Microsoft will have to charge, will have to get paid for their service. So he said, let's say we make 7 bucks. He goes, if you buy NBA 2K for 7 bucks a month, he goes, what if you only play that and Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto for 6 months? We get 40 bucks instead of 3 times 60. He goes, we get screwed. We're not going to do that. EA is trying to do that. They have a service, Origin Access, 10 bucks a month, 15 actually, but 15 a month standalone, 99 bucks a year, so 8 bucks I think. And Activision's like, nope, you're not getting our content. There's none of it on there. So EA brags that they have Warner Brothers content. Maybe that makes sense, but they don't have any Take-Two content. They don't have that. I think they have a little bit of Ubisoft content. Nobody wants to give it away. So the question I'm going to ask you back, Gravity Milk, is do we have an all-you-can-eat current movie subscription available anywhere on the internet? And by current movie, I mean the $5.99, HD video-on-demand movie. No. Why? Because the studios don't think they'd make any money doing that, so they don't offer the content. Ask yourself, why do we have cable? Cable exists because each guy who makes content for cable TV figured out, I can't sell my service directly for what it's worth, but if I sell it to 30 million households or 50 million households as part of a bundle, then I can. So we don't really value them, but we pay for them, but you've got to offer that type of service. You can't do that with games at 10 or 15 bucks. So that's going to roll into how do I think these things are going to be priced? That was Skimpy's question. How do I think they're going to be priced? Subscriptions with access to lots of games like Game Pass or the right to play each game. That's a really great question, and that's really why I haven't yet written a note on Stadia. You got to take in more money than you spend. That's how profit. Profit is revenue minus expenses, and what's left over is considered profit. And Netflix, by the way, doesn't turn an economic profit. They turn a book profit, but they spend more money than they take in. They burn $3 billion a year. $3 billion. Anyway, so back to the question. What's the business model? That's really what you asked me. There's only 3. Now, you can come up with twists on every one of these, and we have infinite permutations, but there are 3 basic business models. Either Google Stadia is going to be a storefront, and by storefront, I mean think of them as the virtual version of GameStop. So not the store that you go online and they deliver the game to you in the mail, and not the store that you go online and they download it to your PC. The store where you go online and the game's just there. It's like you went to GameStop and picked up the game and now you have it. You can play it. So that's Google Stadia. They can be that. That's option 1. If they are a storefront, so FIFA is 60 bucks, Call of Duty is 60 bucks, every publisher's going to say, go for it. Love it. That is essentially what PlayStation Network and Xbox Live are, except those guys make you download the game. And remember, Google Stadia, the trick is there isn't any storage. There is no PC. You don't have to download. So is it going to be that? No. Why? Because Google didn't announce that. That's so simple. Google Stadia Store, stream all you want, give us 60 bucks. We now have your name in the cloud. Pachter owns FIFA. Start playing immediately, and as in perpetuity. As long as you want to play FIFA, go for it. They would have said that. It's too simple. It's not hard to say Google Stadia Store and more, and maybe do some other stuff. They didn't say it, so as of now, that is not what they intend to do. They may change their mind when they find they can't get any content for options 2 and 3, but let's go to option 2. Option 2, and again, I'm doing kind of the extreme ends of the business model spectrum, and then I'll do the one in the middle. The extreme end is what everybody thinks it is, subscription. Pay us X dollars per month. How do I think it will be priced? I think they think they're going to charge $10. So pay us $10 a month, and we'll get you all sorts of great games. Well, back in the day, there was something called OnLive. I think it was 2008 or so. There was something called Gaikai. OnLive was Steve Perlman, wonderful dude. Gaikai was David Perry. And they had 0 games from Activision. Go figure, 0. And the only games they had from Take-Two were 2 years old and older. So nothing current. And when I talked to those companies at the time, and again, I have not asked either one recently what they would do. Take-Two just said they can't make money. They didn't quite say we won't sell to it, but they said we can't make money. So they didn't say never. I mean, obviously, if somebody wants to give them $500 million for the rights to Grand Theft Auto on subscription, they'd take it, but you can't make money that way. That's the Netflix model. Few games from Ubisoft, a few games from Warner Brothers, but neither service worked. They couldn't get subscribers. Nobody would do it. So that's the opposite extreme. Storefront pay monthly fee, unlimited access to games. Problem with that one is no games. No one's going to give them games. And then the middle road is pay as you go and treat it as a true service. So adopt the Asian, I think Korea slightly, but China for sure, internet cafe model where you pay per minute or per hour, and I'm just going to say $1 an hour. So pay $1 an hour. Google will let you play any game that's on the service for $1 an hour. They'll pay 70 cents to the publisher of the game, which seems like a reasonable revenue share. That's iTunes revenue share. And now let's say you are Take-Two and you have Red Dead Redemption 2. I actually don't know how long that game is. I'm not even remotely close to finishing it, but it's big. They probably look at that and go, shoot, if you really want to finish Red Dead, 200 hours. And so, sure, give us 70 cents times 200, give us $140. We're all over that. And the risk they run there, if you Take-Two, is somebody will pay it for 3 hours and not like it. And in the old world, you buy the game after 3 hours, you don't like it, well, you just eat your $60. You may trade it in at GameStop, but you're not taking it back for a refund. In the new world, I could see Take-Two saying, we make these games. I could see Bethesda doing it. We make these Elder Scrolls games eventually. That people will spend 100 or 200 hours, so we'll rent it for $1 an hour. And for a consumer, you go, well, I'll pay $1 an hour because I want to try a bunch of different games and figure out which ones I want to buy. And so let's say, you're me, right? I freaking hate fighting games, right? I hate them because I suck at them. I don't hate them because they're not fun. I hate them because I just hate getting, crushed every time. So I would never buy Mortal Kombat 11, right? But I want to play it. I just would never buy it because I know after 4 or 5 hours I get totally frustrated with getting my ass kicked. So that's the kind of game I would rent because I know it's fun and maybe I could find a bunch of really shitty players like me and win 1 out of 10 times. I'm just not quick. I don't know if you guys have seen the trailers on that thing, but oh my God, that game looks amazing. It looks like a freaking movie. It's like terrifying how good it looks. Anyway, so I think the pay-as-you-go actually might work and you might get content. And so the right question to ask on pricing is, what's Google thinking? And the answer is Google has this really cool service. They know they can deliver you the content, but they really don't have any games to announce. So I actually saw Phil Harrison the night of that announcement at this charity event, and he came up and gave me shit, very good-natured, about, hey, I saw you quoted saying all we're going to have is Android mobile games. And I go, well, that's all you have at Google. What do you have? You see all the games we announced? I go, you announced one game. And he goes, well, we showed a bunch of games. And I go, right. I'm looking for the press release that all those games are coming and when they're coming, and he's like, he froze. So it's either a super high price subscription or it's a pay as you go or it's a storefront. And I think super high price subscription, who cares? Nobody's going to subscribe. Pay as you go actually works. I don't know if they can come up with the right pricing, but it does work. You won't get everything. Imagine Call of Duty, which is a 6-hour campaign. Well, yeah, I'll pay $6 to finish the single player campaign on Call of Duty. I'm still not convinced, I'm going to get to this on the next 2 questions, of the broadband infrastructure, latency issues, and I'll talk about that next. So I'm not sure that people are going to ever pay as you go to play high latency multiplayer, but single player they would. Anyway, don't think those games show up there. So bottom line is, storefront works, high price subscription works, some model of pay as you go works, which I think basically $1 an hour, possibly a little more. And I don't know how many people will sign up. So that's the other two. How can Stadia succeed with poor broadband infrastructure in the US, the increasing prevalence of data caps? Is Stadia an idea that's way too early? Is Eric Schneider. Will it ever work? Eric, I'm not sure that the broadband infrastructure is that poor. It is outside of cities, and so obviously if you live in a town someplace in the middle of Nevada, yeah, it's pretty shitty there. You know those ads that say, we cover 97% of the country. Yeah, the 3% is the places that have really shitty broadband. But they don't mean 97% of the landmass, they mean 97% of the population. So they build up broadband, they build up 5G eventually in big cities. So we're gonna have 90% of people with the ability to subscribe to broadband that works this. So I don't actually accept that. Stadia can succeed. Your question, is it an idea that's way too early? No, it's an idea that's way too late. Ideas came up in 07, 08 with OnLive and Gaikai. And back in 07, 08, it was expensive to buy, relatively expensive, to buy a high-end PC. And they were way over $1,000 back in 07, probably $2,000. PC costs will come down. And where I think the idea is too late, the reason I say it's too late, think of what Stadia said. So I'm back to your broadband infrastructure data cap stuff. Who has broadband internet and doesn't have a PC? What's the overlap of that audience? Let's try 0. You don't get broadband so you can watch videos on your phone. Sorry, that's just stupid. So people have PCs. Now I get who has broadband that doesn't have a super high-end graphics card, totally. So you got a PC and you're gonna play this thing because you don't want to play on your PC. So A, you have broadband on a PC, but you don't want to play on your PC. That's point 1. Point 2, you're too lame to connect your PC to your TV. And then 3, oh, you don't have an aftermarket controller. Oh, but you need one of those from Google to play that. So when Google says we're saving you all sorts of money because all you need to buy is a Chromecast stick and an aftermarket controller, and let's just say arbitrarily $75. That's the entry stakes. For about $20, you could get into gaming on your TV and use your PC as the processor, and so you don't need Google Stadia. You can just download the game to your PC and play it. You'll pay if it's 4K, if it's low latency, if it works, if you have broadband. So now into data caps. I haven't seen them yet. Data caps work on phones, but back in the day, early cell phones, my first cell phone was something like 75 cents a minute to talk. And then there was an incremental charge if I was out of my area of service for roaming. That's how they used to do it. And so that's the same as a data cap. You would pay every time you used it. And what ended up happening is, as soon as they created number portability, the companies all started fighting one another for you as a customer. In order to compete, they got rid of data caps, they unlimited talk and text. That's every service now. For free, right? My service, unlimited international roaming. I have no idea how they do that. Data caps may be coming. It would be incredibly unpopular. Congress will ultimately, or the federal government, FCC, will ultimately just deregulate internet service, and they should. You should, right now, everybody in the US is limited to one cable provider, one phone provider, and then unlimited satellite. So I don't see it actually happening because it's not friendly to the consumer. But again, maybe. So if we have data caps, yeah, streaming's a problem. Broadband caps, if you're streaming and you play an hour a day, you keep repeating that stream. If you download the game once, you have the hit once, and a game is maybe 40 gigabytes. And again, I think with compression technology, it probably flows into your house at a lower rate, probably 15 or so. You got plenty of broadband capability for that. Data caps are like 250 gigabytes. So you can download a game every month and you're not gonna hit your cap. And once the game's downloaded, playing it on your TV is 0 internet usage. So that's the solution. So Stadia is 10 years too late, not 10 years too early. What's gonna happen in the next 10 years? They're right, more people are gonna wanna not buy devices and play games. They're absolutely right. and you're not going to want to buy even a $100 device if it costs you the same, let's say their store. $60, play the game, and you don't need the $100 device, fine, you're more likely to join them. What if that $100 device drops to 75? What if it drops to 50? We are way less than 10 years away from that, more like 1, before every Amazon Alexa enabled device has a CPU and a GPU built in. Nobody bought a phone because they went, oh, Candy Crush. I need to go pay $1,000 for a phone so I can play Candy Crush. No chance that person exists, 0. But I gotta have a phone anyway, and as long as I have it, I'm gonna play games. That's what Echo devices and Apple TVs and Google Homes and Fire TVs, that's what those things are. So I think this idea is way too late, not way too early. Will it ever work? No. Is that a good answer? The reason it's not going to work, let's use the US. I don't even know how many broadband households we have, but whatever. We have 150 million households. I think something like 85% or 80% are connected to the internet. So we've got like 85 million, call it, internet households. Probably a third of those, I'm making this up because I haven't looked it up lately, 30 million are broadband households. How many of those broadband households don't have a console? Well, one of the reasons you get broadband is because you have a console. So I'd say at most 10 million of the 30 million don't have a console that can use Stadia. And I think that number's 2x, too high. It's probably 5. How many of those households don't have a console because they don't want a console? Half of them, at least. And again, I think that's too high. So I would say the maximum addressable market for Google Stadia is 5 million households. That's not a good model. They're not going to make any money. Sorry. Netflix is already at 59 million, I think 59 million US households. That's because everybody watches TV. I do think PC gamers whose PC is dated and they don't want to upgrade, if it's truly 4K and if it truly gives you everything you want, yes. They're not going to get content unless they charge 20 some odd bucks a month. If they do that, yeah, I think 2-3 million PC gamers will sign up. I really do. Do I think console players will leave their consoles behind for streaming? If the next gen consoles are $500-600, maybe. If the next gen consoles are $250, how long are you going to pay $25 a month before you go, I should have just bought a console? So, I think it's really dicey. So truthfully, I think that's a very narrow audience unless they're a store. Then everybody will put their content on. So think iTunes, right? It's a store. You can actually buy albums. I know nobody does, but you buy songs, right? Every music service is there. They're like, go for it. Buck 29. Buy all it used to be 99 cents. Buy all the songs you want. We'll sell them. Yeah, great. Give us the money. I think that the audience could be immense for a store because you would consider playing a game if your PC's kind of dated, if you don't have a next-gen console, and it's the same cost, especially if your Xbox or PlayStation controller works with your TV. That's my Google Stadia episode. I'm not sure what else I haven't hit, but there's lots to think about. I'll leave you with this thought. If Google knew what it was doing, why didn't it say so? I mean, there's not any secrecy that they couldn't tell you. What was the frenzy to announce this at GDC, which is an odd place to announce a service like that? Are they trying to win over developers? Because that was the audience. No. Nope, developers don't. Unless they know the business model, they're not making games. And the business model is, we'll pay you, $10 million to make us a game. Great. Google wanted to trot out Jade Raymond, which is cool. And Jade Raymond, I actually don't know the answer, but I could look it up. She's been a developer for 22 years, let's say. I don't know how many games she's made. I mean, I would guess 6. I don't know. I know she worked at EA back in the day, and I actually don't know what she made way back when at EA. Then Ubisoft, she made 3 or 4 Assassin's Creeds. Then at EA, nothing. I mean, she was building a studio, so not that she's not competent. I mean, she just was in the middle of making a game. And, so what are you going to get out of her? A game every 2 years? A game every 3? That would be phenomenal. So let's come back to me in 10 years and let's talk about the 5 games she's delivered. And that's not enough for anybody to join a service. You're not going to join a service for 1 game every 2 years. So she is great, and I wish her nothing but success. I love her. She's great. She's super talented. They need 20 of those, and there aren't 20 of those going to work for Google. So it would be interesting. Phil Harrison's made games, but it's a hard job, as you know. That's why publishers exist, because they can bring together all these creators and make that shit happen. So I ultimately, I think if they had a business model, they would have told us. If they had settled on one, I don't think they have. And if they had a lot of games, they would have told us. So I expect Google Stadia is going to fizzle out and kind of not be anything big. And frankly, like I said, in 10 years, you're not going to stream anything. You're going to download to your local client. You won't even know you did it. You're just going to say Siri or Alexa, download, or not download, let's play Call of Duty, and you don't care how it happens. It's just going to happen. Thank you for joining us on this week's Pachter Factor. If you're a Patreon patron, thank you so much. It is not expensive, but I get if you don't have any money. If you don't have any money and you are a Prime member on Amazon, link your Prime account to your Twitch account. The instructions are in the YouTube description for this show. And Shane gets $250 a month every time you re-up. So just click the link. It's not that hard. It's right below the screen unless you're in full screen mode. So click on it, please. And if you are too lame to do either of those, you're not a Prime member, follow us on Twitter at Michael Pachter, at Dinfire, at SIFTD Games. Thanks for joining us. We will be back next week. Regardless, don't follow my lead on building PCs because I'm just an idiot. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I buy Dell. Like I know shit. I have a Dell monitor, so I clearly know shit. No, so don't ever look to me for PC advice. I just look for me for round numbers, what it costs.